This time on 818 Custom Garage, we're going to give you a little backstory and show you around the 67 Camaro project. So I have had this car since technically I was 16. I'm a lot older than that now, but about 5 years ago, man, I can't believe it's been that long. I decided to completely tear it apart. We had a couple little spots with rust. We were like, wanted to rewire the car because the wiring was kind of a rat's nest. It all worked good, but just wasn't where I wanted it to be. Wasn't planning on pulling it completely apart and repainting or anything. But once my buddy Dan and I started kind of looking into things, we took like the front glass, the rear glass out. We noticed a few other spots that we needed to go fix, and it just, I think like any other project, sometimes it snowballed a little bit. But in the end, it's gonna be a fresh, really nice car. So the car got completely stripped down to bare metal, full paint. We had to replace the driver's side rear quarter. Because when we got into the car, we noticed that it had probably been in an accident at some point in its life, way before I ever had it. Same with almost all the front nose is almost all new sheet metal. Hood, both fenders are AMD, hood is AMD. The front nose, the front cowl, is a NOS piece. It cost a fortune, but really helps set off the alignment of the front of the car. And then the lower valence is all original too. So that was pretty cool. The floors on this car are perfect. Doors are original. Trunk, all the other stuff, everything else is original. But that quarter, we cut a little bit of rust in a couple spots we were cutting out. We were gonna patch it, and we just decided, hey, if we're gonna paint it, we just did a whole new quarter on it, and then had to cut out a couple pieces on this back quarter that just had in the lower sections and replace those. So this has been about almost a 5-year project. I've got the 4 kids, right? We got the ding dongs and the girls and stuff, and you got a full-time gig. It takes a little bit of time. So, but we're getting really close. A lot of the wiring's all laid in there. It's all roughed in there. Powered it up the other day. Everything's functions. Now we got to go tidy it up, and get a few other things connected so we can start the car. So yeah, that's a little bit of the backstory, where we started, where it's going. Like I said, I drove this car every day in high school. And then it was more of a fun car throughout college and the rest of my life so far. And something my dad and I have done a lot of work on together. And so it's just it's a good family car. We like to call it kind of like the hand-me-down Camaro. It wasn't my dad's, but it's something he and I have had. And then I'm hoping that someday my kids will enjoy it too. The boys like coming out here and working on it. The girls like seeing what's up with it. So my wife's always been a humongous supporter of my craziness with cars and stuff. So yeah, so pretty wild. So I'll give you a good walk around. Well, as you can see, it's not all together, but it's getting close. I did the video with the front spoiler install and stuff like that. So this is a true 67 RSSS car. It was originally 350 auto. Had tilt column, full RS interior setup, deluxe interior, fold down rear seat. Had a lot of options. Had almost a lot of options except for air conditioning. So, which it's getting now. So, no longer a full down rear seat though. Just made it easier because we did a full Detroit speed mini tub in the rear. And it's 4-linked. It's full ride tech suspension front and rear. Everything's powder coated. I'll get it up in the air so we can see underneath it too. But you know, it's got, you know, full RS headlights set up. They do function. It's got the retro electro kit in it because DSC doesn't make one technically for a 67. They do it for the 68, 69. So this kit works really, really, really nice though. So as you can see, it's got a set of forge lines on it. These are the RS5 because they designed them with Roadster Shop. So it's got a 265, 35, 18 up front. And then it has a 325, 30, 19 in the rear. So pretty big tire. Full paint. You know, like everybody else, we had the rust. There's usually a seam right here. We actually, you know, cut out some sections here, fit it back in. We actually welded the whole seam together and made it smooth. Just thought it makes it a little bit nicer looking through there, through that transition. You know, it's getting there. It's got a DSC roll bar set up in it. So right now, interior is all gutted, right? Because we are, and as you can see, so we'll show you, those are the DSC mini tubs. They look stock in there, right? I did have this car driving right, you know, after we did some of that, so I know the suspension all works. There's the dash. AC is in there. Running a Holley EFI. It's got an HP computer, which is mounted. I don't know if we can see it, mounted right there. So, does have a Viper 6-speed that I did way back in like 2002. So it's been converted to a 6-speed a while ago. Full hydraulic clutch setup. Doing a full Dakota digital dash, but it's, you know, non-digital, right? It's going to look like the factory gauges. It has a factory center console with the gauge pod, the factory RS gauge pod down there too. Like I said, the floors are super clean in this car. Look really, really, really good. So, going to do a full Dynamat on it. You know, already did kind of the rear section a little bit, you know, under the seat, but we'll Dynamat the rest. So, as you can see, we got a lot of the wiring roughed in. We were able to get in the rear quarter glass, and this has factory power windows. It was an option back then. This has original power window setup. I did rebuild the motors for all 4 windows, so they now, I know these two, the rear quarters do function, so it's pretty sweet. So we got to get the front doors in, and then we got all new wiring for the power window setup from American Auto Wire. This is a full American Auto Wire. It's their update kit, so you have to crimp every single connections. There's a lot of the under dash ones. The big connections are done for like the your headlight switch, your ignition switch. Some of the other those plugs are done, but a lot of them, the other ones are not. So you have to pretty much, to give you a little, you know, it's flying lead. You get to make it your own. You know, you can fit it yourself. So same with the trunk. That's a full flying lead setup. So we were able to, you know, so like all these connectors and everything, you gotta crimp them. So I crimped and soldered them. You know, made a full harness, loomed it. So it's getting pretty close. Shut off switch, battery mounts over there, nice billet mount. So like I said, we just had the wiring roughed in because we wanted to power it, make sure it works. But the trunk should look nice and sanitary when it's done. So as you can see, DSC mini tubs look stock, but they are wider, right? So it's a pretty sweet deal. Put the trunk down. Now this does have a set of, those are Eddie Motorsports billet taillight lenses that have been, they were raw initially, so I had them polished, and then he clear powder coated them in gloss, and then he masked and did the semi-gloss black, so it looks like a factory taillight lens, but it's not. It's got an LED light in it, set up in it as well. So you can see the forge lines. They are super, super nice. I really dig them. So it is getting close, super close. So I'll raise it up. Let's look underneath. So we got the car up in the air. You can see here, stock subframe, fully powder coated. Does have the Ride Tech. These are the single adjustable coilover setup, because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I ought to do a little auto crossing with it one day, but I don't know. It does have their sway bar setup. Does have a nice set of Willwoods on it, 6-piston up front. Still a small block. We'll show you guys that next. You know, full nice, you know, nice header set up into a 3-inch collector. I believe it's they're Dynatech headers. So let's see if we can get around here. So it does have a full 3-inch, I guess you would say mandrel bent. You know, we sectioned it and stuff too, into some nice Flowmasters, full tailpipe. Does have a subframe connector. It's a tubular setup. Connects to the factory subframe. We're running billet subframe mounts. I don't think you can see it up in there. Let's see. This might be a better shot. There's the 6-speed, and this is a true Viper 6-speed. They actually cast the emblem up on it. So I'm like, I don't know if we can see it over here, if it's on the other side. Oh yeah. Let me see if I can get up in there. Oh, there it is. There's the Viper emblem cast into it. So it's pretty cool. It's what they kind of based a lot of the new Magnums off of. But, you know, had to kind of play a lot with like shifter location and stuff like that, custom shifter and all that stuff. So this does have the full Ride Tech True Turn on it too. So helps with that bump steer. And then, like I said, we've got there's the tailpipes under the, we had to go under the 9-inch. So this Strange fully fabricated 9-inch cross brace, triangulated 4-link, rear sway bar. This is the Ride Tech rear sway bar. Full air motive tank with the pumps inside the tank too. So super, super nice. Willwoods on the back, of course. So, and then one thing on this does have their new joint. I forget what they call the joint, but that way I can kind of articulate. It's not a Heim and not going to make a bunch of noise and wear out over time. So yeah, happy with the underside of the car. It does have full Teflon lined braided stainless fuel lines, -8 front and feed and return. So hopefully it's fairly sanitary underneath here. It's going to get dirty because I'm going to drive it, but tried to coat everything, you know, as much as we could, just to keep any corrosion. I mean, I'm in Southern California, so I don't, you know, that shouldn't be a bad issue to have. I love the look of the forge lines on here. It looks cool. Very retro. Front spoiler. Dig it. Oh, when we powered things up, this light wasn't on, so that's why I got the tape on there. I'm pretty sure it's my ground. With everything being powder coated everywhere, hard to get grounds, but you know, you just got to make sure you scuff everything off. And I don't think I did a good job on that one, if I remember right. I think it was the original ground, and I just think I screwed back into it. I don't think I really scuffed any of that out. So I'll bring it back down, show you the engine bay. Well, onto the engine bay. So as you can see, still got to finish up tightening up the wiring, but got most of it laid in. There's an MSD box hidden behind there, kind of made a closeout panel, so it'll kind of be behind. The coil is buried over there in the corner. Trying to keep as much off the firewall, keep it looking clean. It's got a DSC wiper motor, which I'll probably never use because I don't intend on ever driving this thing in the rain. But I have been caught in the rain, a couple times before. So, this is, big 2-core monster radiator, twin SPA fans. It does have full Lee power steering setup. That is a Lee box down in there that's been fully turned up for this thing. It does have a Lee power steering pump. It is with a remote setup, Lee reservoir. It does have a Hydrotech Hydro Boost, so all that system's all one. For the power brakes and the power steering, they all use the same fluid. So that's why there are 2 return lines into that finned reservoir. This thing's fully baffled, super crazy. And like I said, it's all matched to each other. So before Lee actually sold the business, I know they're still around, but he and I worked on that together just to make sure that everything was set up right. Super cool guy because he was local too. We are running a GZ Motorsports vacuum pump on the motor. We did set up the motor for the vacuum pump, so should give it a little bit extra horsepower, help evacuate all that crankcase pressure into a Motion Raceworks catch can setup, which these things are so nice. Full billet setup. The baffling inside is awesome. Then it's got a full drain and everything too, so to catch any of the vapor. So Willwood master proportioning valve. Like I said, it is hydraulic setup for the clutch too, so it's got a Willwood master for the clutch. That's the reservoir right there. That is a Ring Brothers reservoir. Ring Brothers hood mounts. These things are so nice, so nice. Love them. Did powder coat. The inner fender wells are powder coated. Front core support, all that stuff. Hood latch, all that's powder. That's the actual original hood latch of the car. Core support I ended up replacing with an AMD setup. Stock one was a little, somebody had jacked up on it, way long ago on the bottom side, so it was kind of chewed up. I've been really happy with the AMD sheet metal stuff. A lot of their stuff has been really good. The fenders lined up pretty good. Like I said, this lower valence is original. This is an NOS piece that cost me a fortune for the tiniest little piece of metal. But yeah, so it's crazy. And then the headlight assemblies are just, I don't know, bought a whole new assembly and then did the retrofit with the retro electronics. It does have an LED headlight in it. Let's see. So this does have AC. So it's got a vintage air setup. I am not running a heater because I don't need heater. I didn't want heater lines running in here. I don't ever plan on needing a defroster. I've had this thing for over 20 years and never needed it before. It's a weekend cruiser, man. I don't plan on taking it cross country and doing all this stuff. The lines are there. The lines are hidden behind here. So if I ever wanted to hook the heater up, I can do a union and hook them up and, put the heater controller valve in and be done. It'd be ready. It's ready to go. They're there if I want it. So, Holley EFI, I'm going to run, going to make the wiring sanitary. Should look nice. That is an RHS intake manifold, which is basically the fast intake manifold. And then that is a whole March pulley setup for everything. So kept it pretty sanitary in there. Worked with the vacuum pump setup and everything. So you can see there's the mandrel down at the bottom for the vacuum pump pulley. But everything else is serpentine. So should be nice. This is a 383 6-inch rod, fully forged internal, coated moly pistons. Pretty good valve train setup in it. So it's got these are dart heads that have been fully custom ported. They flow well into the almost mid 300s for a small block Chevy head. Pretty crazy. It does have a custom bullet hydraulic roller cam that's good size, comp cams, lifters. It does have shaft mount rockers, titanium valve, titanium retainer, setup. So it's meant to rev. This thing's probably gonna make peak horsepower around 8,000. So between 7,500 and 8,000 is what it should make peak power around. So should be a fun car to drive. Plenty of power, naturally aspirated, fuel injected setup. So really looking forward to it. You know, I've done boosted stuff before. This thing's had Vortec, blowers on it before. Different configuration of the small block. Love that too. And you never know, if I want to, maybe one day I'll go back to that. Really do enjoy the boosted setup. So, and everybody's probably gonna be like, why didn't you just throw an LS in it for the money you threw in this, small block? You could have had an LS probably that makes about the same power, maybe cheaper. So, I like the look of the small block in here. It's what it came with. It looks at home. Everybody else is doing the LS all the time. Figured I'd do a little rowdy small block, that can do similar things. It'll idle, stay cool, it'll rev, it'll sound better than an LS. I guarantee you that. The LS motors just don't sound as cool as these small blocks. So, but yeah. So next up on this thing is we got to finish up the wiring. That's the biggest thing, is finishing up the wiring, getting it all tidy. And, we're going to get the front windows in, the doors. And also remember this, since it's a 67, this has the vent windows, the front, or a wind wing, right? So these are original. The rubber that's in them is really good. So I'm actually going to clean them all up, get it all ready. And those need to go in first. I need to get like the weather strip channel in there and stuff, because everything aligns off of that front wind wing. You get that aligned first, and then you get the big glass aligned, and then you get that small quarter glass aligned. So we got the rear quarters all in there, so that was pretty cool. That took 3 of us, because you need 6 hands. Like if you don't have power, we were powering the motor off a little Makita battery to kind of maneuver it and get into all the tracks and all that other stuff. And then you got to bolt them in, and it's an ordeal. So the fronts are easier because there's a little bit more room to work with. So that's up next. Windows, man, finish the wiring, and then we'll get it fired up, and we'll get a video of that. So, and then the project I'm working on today is the steering column, which I had fully rebuilt. It's the original steering column, original tilt. I did paint it and all this other stuff. Got the color matched paint. Went through that. But 67, 68 has a old school, the older style turn signal switch and dash connector. The American Auto Wire setup comes with the newer style, like 69 and later setup. So in order to use my original column, I have to cut all these wires off, cut them off. I have to crimp all those ends on and then pin it into that connector. So what's cool is they have the diagram for it. So, and that shouldn't be too hard. I'll cut it, I'll crimp and solder them, and then put them in the connector, and I'll get that all ready to go in. So that's the project today. I don't think I'm gonna film that, because that's just kind of long, tedious, and boring. I don't know, might show it when it's completed. So I don't know, we could always do the movie magic and go, hey, booyah, that's it. It's all pinned. So I just cut them off, the old connector, cut the old connector off, crimped and soldered the new pins on, and then pushed them in. Pretty simple, done deal. All right, so I hope you enjoy the walk around and where we're at and where we came from and what's to come. Happy New Year to everybody. Please comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see, what you don't want to see. You know, we normally do all the RC stuff. You know, I'm going to be working on that 5B. I got the brake set up for that to go get that all back together. I got that guy back together. Looks brand new. Dash actually helped me put him back together, so it's pretty sweet. So yeah, so we're gonna work on that today. Probably work on that today, and then tell us what you kind of want to see on this. I'd love to hear comments, see comments, and we'll try to capture as much as we can. I want to make it enjoyable. Don't want to make it boring. I know this was a lot of me talking and just showing, but wanted to give you kind of the backstory. So we'll catch you on the next one.